just like one of these now. Okay, so welcome back to another edition of Cannabis in Canada. I'm sitting here with none other than Bob Davidson. We just finished a 1-hour show on Time4Hemp Network with a new Cannabis in Canada show that's on every Tuesday, or every Monday and Wednesdays from 7 till 8 o'clock. Of course, we're looking at potentially extending that to a 2-hour show because, man, that was some good fucking dialogue, bro.
Bang, just kept going and going and going. Then we talked for like an hour after the show.
Yeah, we did. I mean, you guys had great dialogue. I mean, for those of you out there that want to talk about the first half of the show is about really Bob and the medical efficacy. Some of the stuff he's going to show here, the medical efficacy and the different applications that he uses, how different strains do work for different pains, unlike, you know, the government seems to think. And certainly there's cannabinoids full spectrum, right up to CBGs, CBDs, RCBs, CBNs, etc., that are simply not being explored. And yeah, so Bob, simply give us a top-up of what you thought of being on the radio show, for one, because you're my second guest.
Well, awesome. It was totally fantastic. I love talking about how I'm dealing with multiple sclerosis. My miraculous recovery is being documented by my specialists, and the UBCMS clinics are quite aware that my high cannabis intake is really doing something to this disease. And so a lot of people ask, how much do you use each day? And I'm at 55 gram a day license, and so I smoke quite a few rolled joints, and they're, you know, fairly large.
It's like a lease over, like 1.5 grams each.
Yeah, they're about 1.5 grams size, so I use a lot of cannabis joints. And then I also have concentrates, and the concentrates are actually what really beneficial because of the concentrated amounts, they do so much more, and they're in
zoom in on that. She can actually zoom right in on that.
They're a much healthier way to get your cannabis intake using concentrates, and some of them are people will have seen oil before. It's one of the, you know, I've seen this when I was 14 years old, but now they found ways to make it cleaner.
I was just going to say it wasn't quite.
No, it was nothing like this, and this stuff is
like
like
darker.
it's hard as can be. It's
no, that's been
very purified. It's been filtered. This is just a very good base to start making other things with. Those things.
No, is that the vacuum purge, but is it an ISO base, or was
yes, ISO base.
ISO base and then vacuum purge.
All the other things and some things.
Because it's almost like shatter, what they would call shatter. It's almost like an ISO version of shatter, and I've heard of people making that, so it's kind of cool.
So yeah, you can take this then, and you can meter your doses by mixing them, and that's one thing that the health cannabis is not getting, is that if you can take this, mix it with a bit of a coconut oil so it's actually viscous, and then you can draw it up into a syringe, and then meter little capsule doses of like 0.2 of a gram each capsule, and make your own capsules. You can make suppositories for colon cancer. It's the best way to get the cannabinoids down into the colon system to fight the cancers, using suppositories. Sprays. The same oil can be diluted with a little bit of glycerin, items like that. Make it go with some coconut oil and spray it under your tongue. And then as well, we have some. This is an overshatter product. It's just purged and has some more things done to it. It's very potent. The potency is very high. And
so that's the stuff I believe that was tested at like
94% THC. Yeah. It's been tested there, and yeah. So you're looking at something that someone only needs a tiny bit to get the same effect as smoking a few joints. So
of course, it's a lot more healthy, and of course going through the paper and everything else. And this is the problem: the government misses extractions. Now, for someone like yourself, one thing we know about extractions is it's more of an indica effect if you have it. It's a body, and that's simply because of the decarboxylation in the process of it. Now, that being said, what happens to you if you smoke a pure sativa?
Oh, sativas are boo for Bob. Okay, this is why. With MS, I have muscles twitching, and I have conditions of spasticity, and it's like electric shocks going through your body, and all that the sativas do is seem to spur that on and get you more jittery because they're an up effect, and they're more of an energetic buzz, so they tend to cause me to be more hyperactive and jittery, and that activates my fingers to jitter to the point where I'm just unable to roll a joint. It just becomes a mess.
And this is another example of where they say there's no, we don't understand the different strains. I believe the Crown said, Mr. Arnold, one of our plaintiffs in court, said that there was no evidence that different strains work. I think Bob's a walking example of somebody that can't smoke certain strains.
All of these concentrates in my cannabis are indica, and I grow only a strain that's 100% indica, OG Kush or a Bubba Kush, or something that's as pure as possible indica. So maybe it's cut with a different indica, but at least no sativa in it, or I'll just be shaking like crazy.
And there you go, and that's what I mean by, again, under the MMPR and under the old MMAR, you cannot have extractions. And in Bob's case, it's a big issue because it prevents seizures, and he needs to have it all day long. And he keeps that titration up. I've talked about this for 7 years in my videos. Read a book like this book here is a fabulous book, Cannabis Therapeutics. A lot of references to Ethan Russo. You want to know the history of cannabis and how we got to where we are and what's not being told to you, get the book and read it. Yeah, it's $40 or so, but it's worth the education to understand what we're trying to get across to people, because the government says we don't know enough about cannabis. Well, you know what? We got them under a restraining order. Let's go freaking educate them. They need an education campaign. We need to educate them about strain efficacies. We need to explain to them that 60 strains won't fix all. And the fact that you ban extractions and still criminalize us for simply doing what Sanjay Gupta has shown can save a baby's life and save them from being brain smashed because there was no other treatment available. So Sanjay Gupta's with us. I don't know what the fuck's up with the federal government of Canada, you know, but I'm very glad that the justice has spoken. It's one thing that these LPs forgot that we're really rich is that you can't buy the Constitution. And they never came to canvass us to say, hey, would you guys like to buy from us? We do support your fight, but would you buy from us? They never did that. Instead, they went on the campaign, and we have you marked, and you're bagged, and you're tagged. We're not going to buy from you. We know who you are. We're not going to name you. But you chose to go with the government and say that we're fire mold and gangsters. Well, you now got anecdotal evidence of that in court, so you've got nothing to run with, and we're going to use that back on you. And because you went with that side, you ain't going to get my business or none of my collective. I promise you that. So I throw that down now to you LPs out there that have supported us, but quietly in the background, kick up the donations, represent the coalition, and say you support our fight. Because there's room for two markets. There's going to be a morphing, and it's going to happen constitutionally, whether you like it or not. I just suggest you get on side with the patients, because ultimately, it's about the patient's health, not your pockets. This is Jason Wilcox, and we'll see you in the next show.
Business is blossoming at a hydroponic shop in BC. Sales have been smoking hot ever since 2 U.S. states legalized marijuana. The company, called Green Planet, carries everything anyone would need to grow plants, any kind of plants, indoors. In Colorado, it is now legal to have 6 marijuana plants in a secure area.